Okay then. Good afternoon, everybody who are here. Thanks for joining with us, and hope you all are tucked in your own comfort zones at your own homes at this rainy day today. So welcome you all once again. And today we already know that this particular pandemic that we are going through has made distance between our closest people that we already have right now. Maybe 1 2 years before they were sitting right next to you, and now we are far away. But also this also gave us an opportunity to add connect people which are who are distant in terms of distance, and like how we have today's presenter with us today, and to share her views, her experience, and make you learn something on the way, and maybe take something from her and maybe apply it and do the best you can from that knowledge. So if I have to introduce her in my own point of view, from my personal experience, I was lucky enough to have a chance to work with this woman architect, I should say, and it was a great deal for me. And it was a kind of when we start working, and this is like when it's my first job, after getting bachelor's of degree, then the first opportunity, like you want to look for a mentor, who like, okay, I have to reach that stage, where is that benchmark that you want to reach in future. And so that was set up by this particular person. And basically, if I have to start with one definition, I got to know that, okay, work hard, party harder. Okay, I got the definition of it. I got what it means. I completely got it. So, and from there, so many things, for whatever things that I do presently, whatever things you students know me about me in terms of my presentations or some details, and it all came from this beautiful relationship we had with Aris Architects. And it all started all there. This entire journey started there. And I've been trying for this to happen for a very long time, but finally lockdown has to happen, or a pandemic has to happen for this to actually happen, because traveling, all these things is not that easy and all. So we are very lucky. And I have to formally introduce architect Shruti. So I'll just get on with that. So the presenter here today with us is architect Shruti Kande. She has graduated from Sir JJ College of Architecture in Bombay in 2009. She is an associate architect with Aris Architects Bombay and has a holistic experience of 12 years seeing projects from renders to reality, along with finding talent, training, and managing a team of 5 to 7 architects. Basically, that's where I come into picture, I hope. She has comprehensive approach to design, real-time rendering, presentations in virtual reality and AR, detailing, coordination, and execution of cinemas in the sense of single screens to megaplexes that we have right now in urban scenario. We have offices, various offices she worked on, and school projects based on STEM and e-learning techniques, from kindergarten furniture to the planning of campuses. She has done all these projects in the past 12 years with high enthusiasm, sensitivity, and sensibility. So, so that's how. So we want to welcome Shruti, and I think it's all yours, Shruti, and it's all between you and our students. You guys can take over and see how it can help everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Sandeep. It has been a great time working with you as well. And as he mentioned, it has been a really long time that I'm working with Aris Architects also. And I think it all brings me to today. Today, whatever I'm going to tell you about is all the experience, all the learnings, and all the applications that I have done through all these years of work on my desk in Aris Architects and going to site, etc., etc. So I will start with some presentation which I have prepared for you guys. I'll just go through it. Um, So I start with essentially saying that these are some learning that we should all remember, that tell me and I will forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I may learn. So you have to involve the child, to involve anybody, not just children, involve anybody into any conversation, any presentation, or any atmosphere, space, or gardening, or whatever activities that they do. They are going to remember that for their life. It's not going to be just 2D for them. You have to be in 3D to understand and help learn anything in this world. Those are the kind words by Benjamin Franklin, and how, as an architect, architecture aims to create that atmosphere that epitomizes these words by him. So how do we do that? We involve somebody, we evolve them, and then we resolve it also. So sometimes we have to resolve those things that we have tried to do, and we have gone wrong. Probably we can mend them and resolve them and create great spaces. What we see here is an image inside out. Why I would like to show you this image is that the school starts from inside, right? You have to go within, and you have to learn yourself, and then portray yourself to the others. So even the architecture starts inside out, not like outside in. So how is the experience going to be inside out? How that institution, which is going to be the mentoring space for you to become a great individual in the future, how it is going to be involve those values into you, is what I'm trying to make you make you understand by this presentation. Let's get to the 8 intelligences by Howard Gardner. First is the visual, spatial, then there is a musical intelligence that we need to inculcate in a child when he's right from the toddler's age till say around 9 to 12 years. After that, you start brushing up those skills. So we talk about these 8 intelligences, which are visual, spatial, which looks something like this. You can put a kid inside a box with a lot of sensory environment. You can ask the child to anti-gravity and test how much strength is improving. You have to create a musical environment where I did not want to put a picture of a guy with a guitar in his hand, but I've chosen a picture in which he is trying. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I chose picture to say that you have to create a xylophone kind of an environment, which he has to understand what are the sounds coming out from that tube and for what reason, and he will understand by experience. He'll have to the percussions by himself and understand, and then only he will understand the notes of a guitar in the future. There are bodily kinesthetics where I'm talking about, there are areas where you have to make him climb on the walls and experience by himself, and not make a ladder for him so that, oh, these are the steps, you have to walk through it. No, you have to allow him to do this by himself. Interpersonal relationships are those which are formed between two people. Like how are the kids talking to each other? Are they enjoying with each other? They have to be with each other in the same space. So there have to be those spaces where these children can be together, learn together, and not like looking towards the wall or the board. There are linguistic characteristics that we have to develop where when a person speaks, the other person has to understand in the same way. The language has to be very clear. It has to be universal. It has to be global. There are interpersonal things that inculcate confidence. So you have to inculcate confidence, and how does confidence come is what I will tell you in the next few slides. There are logical, mathematical environments that we need to create, where you can count a certain number of steps, you can count the number of puzzles that you have in front of you, etc. There are naturalist things. You have to make the child push into the green environments and make him it makes him very adventurous to know things about the nature, how they will like touching and feeling a plant. So why don't we introduce like a nursery inside the school itself, where they will plant their own trees, etc. So these are those qualities that we are here for. As a school teacher, as a third teacher, where we are the architects and the space is the teacher. You will have to read this book, which I think was mentioned in your brief. That was a third teacher. It speaks a lot of things about all these values that we inculcate in the students as architects through the spaces. This is a small sketch which simply tells us how those qualities have been, spaced out in a space. How do we put in musical intrapersonal skills? How do we make a window and look outside the window into the vistas, and we still are naturalist in inculcating these naturalist values into those kids. So it's not about just making a window. It is about just breaking down the walls. Probably, we need to explore all those uh, different ways of space creation for the children, so that we can achieve all these intelligences in a child. So how we look at it as Aris architects, or as myself also, we look at 7 intelligence that we want to put in the building. What are those? So we want to inculcate freedom, right? We want them to feel free. What we see in these images, we want them to be very passionate and visionary about their future. They are going to be the future astrologists, scientists, or I don't know. We are going towards STEM learning, but they might probably invent some new what do you call that? A replacement for plastic. They're going to be microbiologists. They're going to be anything. So you are here to tell them that it's the vision that you need to follow. The environment and sustainability has to be there in any project that we make. We have to make some authoritative spaces which will inculcate a lot of discipline in them, which will make them look at it as a fortress. That I went to school, which was a fortress, and I went to fight. Right. So all these small things. Here we see this lady holding on to a thread. She's going to be a leader. So how are they going to be leaders if they are kept in very low height spaces? No, they have to be in really high height, very ambitious spaces, where they can just go run and and they go back home and say, oh, my school is so tall, and I want to go back to school and things. So how about inculcating cooperation and collaboration by you have hexagons as the epitome of team. How about making interactive spaces which make them respective and responsive? So the spaces also respond to your touch and maybe voice, maybe your movements, however, and how they learn to respect the space, and the space also respects them back. So it reacts to their emotions and it respects them back. It's a dialogue between the child and that space. There are innovative and independent things that they can do by themselves with the help of technology, which we need to inculcate. So these are the 7 things that that I wanted to share with you guys, so that they are present in your designs also. Now I'm going to just explain all the schools that we have designed as Aris Architects, as a team. And this was the first school, very tiny kids, kindergarten kids for them. And what you see here is a parametric form in which there is a spatial experience that pulls you in towards the room, which is right at the end. And that's the actual school. So this is just the corridor space in which they are going to make a nice line, a row of kids going. So it looks very beautiful when the kids come to school every day from this path. Every day, there'll be some toys kept in these small little spaces which are there in between those design curves. And those are inspiring for them, where they go and collect that toy, and then they go inside to learn. So this is something really inspiring and architecturally, spatially very involving that we had created. What we see is the plan of the same corridor where I'm marked in, and this is the overall scheme of the floor, which was dedicated for the kindergarten students. There were 6 classes, and 2 of which we kept as a sand and water play area and some more play areas. But what I'm trying to tell you in this is the arrangement, and it's so amorphous and very evolving and very fluid, and such that the child can just run into those spaces, and it's very inviting for them to go and sit into the class. There are no doors. There are absolutely I'm just going to brush into, yeah, there are absolutely no doors here. They are all low height spaces at the height of the child itself, so that they don't feel too intimidated by the space. At the same time, they get the sense of space because of the height of the overall, the slab to slab height, essentially. But all the shelves, all the toys are at the height of this child, and accessible to him and accessible to the teacher, so that they can ask for whatever they want. They can take it by themselves, or they can ask from the teacher. So this is there is a ramp which we provided so that they can just run and go in, what you see in to the left, right? And then there's a central space where they create they have their sessions in the between, and they have some group activities in between. At the end of the door is the toilets, and at the right side we had made this toddlers area, in which these toddlers are really young. They are about 9 to 11, 9 to 2 years old, where they just come to play, and they are taught. This is a scale at which this table is. It looks not to scale, but when I place the kid over there, you'll understand that it's just about 1.5 feet. That is just about 450 mm. It is at the height at which adults sit. So what we need to design all the activities that we do as adults to the size of these kids. So there is a space where I'll go back to the toddlers plan. So yeah, where you enter into the space, you have some teaching area. This is the toddler section. This on the left is also a toddler section, where you enter into the space, and then you have like a teaching area with a library and a lot of shelves where you keep certain toys and all the gaming and learning materials of the teacher. Once you go inside, you have a space where there is a complete activity that they do as an adult. Like they will learn to wash a couple of napkins. They will learn to wash their own they're eating utensils, and they will keep it at the preparation table. They will arrange their own food and take it at this community table and eat it with the rest of the toddlers. And there is a space where the teacher can also supervise this and tell them that this is the way to eat, and sit on a chair and things like that, because sitting on a chair is something that has to be taught to them in the age of 9 to 1 itself. 1 year olds, 9 months to 1 year olds, 1.5 year olds can sit on a chair, and so all these things have to be taught at certain age, and you have to create those spaces at that age. I will share some more references about all these things. I didn't have too much time to compile all this into this presentation, but I'll share these references with you separately. then we come to the second floor, where there's a fourth floor. We directly, so basically we had taken one entire building. I mean the institution, the teaching institution, they had taken one entire building. Um, they started doing one floor at a time. So this is the higher, this is the fourth floor in which we were designing spaces for about um, 12, no, sorry, not 12, 8, 8-year-old to about 12-year-olds. And they all are being taught together because it's an international school, and the board, they have their own standards in which they do group teaching. So in that way, we had to design spaces in which they can sit in groups and not towards the facing towards one wall. So that's how you come to see these spaces in which there are many free flowing elements and some elements which have purposely been designed to inspire them to draw them towards them. So for example, this is the library, and this is a 2D version if you see, but actually it's a 3D where you can see that we have used the cutouts from the tree at the back of the wall. So in terms of wastage, that is not happening. In terms of inspiration, that is happening. In terms of spirituality, there is a lot of spirituality in this, in which you see those at the end of this tunnel, you have like a shadow forming. So there's a lot of spiritual value to this particular tree over here, in which I think in this environment which you see right in between, you always have the tree at the background, and it gives you the feeling of Gurukul, in which most of the teaching used to happen in a tree. Because this is a very urban project, we have to delve into objectifying the design rather than having an actual tree due to maintenance and things like that. But even pictorial and 3D forms of design can be really inspirational for kids, and I think they will last long with them for once they even grow up. That they'll go back home and say, even after 4-5 years, they go back and say, "Oh, in my third standard, I had a tree in my school, in my class." So that's something that to take back from, apart from the lovely things that he has learned from this school. What we see here is another teacher's table where we are standing, and the rest of it are shelves, and all these shelves, they are all staggered, and they essentially redefine the space at the height of this child, where we have used a different kind of form spatially, and yet it's I mean, it's going to be very interesting to learn over here as a child. So what we saw just now was like a puzzle. That square to the left and the triangle on the top, those are the tables which we had designed, and they are actually a haberdasher puzzle, where the same pieces are being used for creating those tables. And what you see as an GIF, as an image, that essentially is a very sharp edged puzzle. What I need you to notice is all the edges at all the corners of all the furniture have been rounded off, of course for safety reasons, and of course I mean majorly for safety reasons, and of course aesthetically it has a small gentle touch of detail which which you can appreciate, and it's also very you can keep changing the furniture all the time, so the environment keeps changing. You don't have the same kind of setting every time. So that was one example which we used. You can go into a pentagon becoming a square, square becoming a hexagon, so there are many ways you can, these are some puzzles which have been judiciously done. You can go crazy and cut shapes into how much ever you want and try to make simpler forms out of it. So this is one example that I wanted to share with you. Now coming to the next level, which we designed in the same school. So this was like the layout which was there with us, with a lot of walls and a lot of doors and etc. etc. So we broke all the walls and break the columns, of course. So once we break the walls, what we did was we defined the labs. So we were making labs in this, in which we wanted 5 labs, 5 to 6 labs approximately. So from left to right, we get about 5 labs, and we get a clear corridor at the front and the back. So all the labs are connected with each other, even from the back door. So if in case, like a principal wants to take a round and then the teachers want to go from one class to the other, and plus because it's a lab, there's an 8 feet wide corridor. I'll come back to it. Because it's a lab, there's going to be class which is divided into different laboratories. So just to keep a check about the attendance, this, that, etc. So we need to have like a small little international spaces over here. At the pink area where you see the instructors who are sitting, so they have a clear picture of what the students are up to in the labs. There's a waiting lobby, there's a parent teachers room, and other staff areas which happen. There's a library at the end of the corridor, and the toilets. So this is how we had broken the walls and created these kind of laboratory spaces. Now each lab, right, was about 37 feet to by 18 feet. That's approximately 11 meters by 5.5 meters, and it can accommodate around 40 students. What we try to do is the shelf itself becomes the writing board, and it becomes a graphic wall, and it becomes a shelf. So we have the wall spaces, and you use the wall spaces itself to become a lot of storage areas and writing material or projection areas. So here we have the laminated storage area, we have graphics, we have pin-up boards on the window side, we have a drop-down projection screen, we have a sliding writing board which moves left to right whenever as required and as per who's sitting inside. So there's a height at which things happen. These shelves are only 5 feet high, right? We have broken the walls. So all the 5 classrooms are end to end at the height above 5 feet and under the beam. They are open. So we fit glass into them, and they are completely, you can see through the entire floor continuously. These are different colors that we introduced on the shelves itself. And like I mentioned, there were these 5 feet 9 inches, the height of the shelf, on which there's a writing board on a sliding channel, and we have some graphics behind it. Say this was a chemistry lab, so we had this, and or we have some other graphic. And we have like a writing board over which she can teach, which will slide as per vision, and a drop down screen also. So these are the basic things that you require to address to a little senior students, not to like really tiny kids, but say around 9 to 12 year olds and above. So here I would like to show a small little prototype that we designed, in which what you can see is that all these kids are looking towards that particular writing board side, and they're all so here what we were trying to do is to show the highest capacity of one class. Um, this is uh, another way that the same prototype has been combined, and it becomes a very long table. Right now, each person gets a lot of space for himself, as such about 2.5, almost 2 square meters each. So it's a lot of space for one person to work. So you can always increase students in between two students. So that also can happen. Again, another arrangement where where things are kind of different. Here, there's another arrangement. Here, the capacity becomes much lesser. But what happens is this exercise is to show that one prototype, and not a rectangular prototype, can be used in several different ways and can create a lot of environments, and a lot of differences in everyday teaching of a tutor also. And there's another arrangement in which the vision of a person is again towards the teaching wall. There's one more arrangement. So there were a lot of arrangements that this particular prototype could make. And there's another group teaching element that we introduced, and another one. So as you see, this is not just one, but you can come up with several different shapes and figures which can become prototypes, and eventually, they can be used and reused and reassembled into multiple forms. Um, what you saw on the top of those the tables in the prototype was a material called as Korean, and it's a very nice, durable, and very permeable, malleable material, in which you can hot form it and press it, and you can do several things with this one, and you can connect the joints very seamlessly and introduce a lot of colors. They have a lot of colors available already, which you can see already in these images. I'm just showing this so that you get to know, okay, how am I going to use so many colors. So this is just one small example of how you can do it. Coming back to this one, yeah. So what yeah, so there's that instructor area, there's a storage unit, there's an 8 feet corridor, there are storage units, there's cluster table, there's a research table, there's a writing board. There are several things which have been which can be accommodated in one studio. We call it studios because, I mean, they are not labs. Like, they don't even look like labs. They are not even having any very scientific character to it or anything. They're studios where you just come and learn uh, all the scientific or physics, chem, bio, robotics, I don't know, artificial intelligence. However, you can utilize the space. However, this is the form which I just explained. Some logos that we created for each of the lab. And some images that we did. So this is how it was looking. So this is back in 2006, okay? No, 2013. So that's why I'm just gonna run forward. Then this is the kind of graphic work that we had done. So what I was trying to explain with this is that not just a simple wall, you leave it. But if you want to add some more detail to it and add some graphics to it, and if you have an inclination towards it, I think you can go crazy with graphics also. I mean, as a first year, right, I think you can just explore what all things you find as a as a defining design element in your design, right? This is the studios which we finished recently. And left side is the Lumion image, and the right side is the actual image. So most of our work in Iris speaks about renders to reality. So whatever we render and whatever is the reality is just the same. And hardly like I can give like 1 or 2% here and there, but like we claim that everything that we picturize, which we conceptualize, is always built to reality, right? Like for that, your drawings have to be great, etc. So right from your first year, I think you should just concentrate on your drawing skills and things like that. So this is the right side is the render, the left side is the actual image. These are some site images which we just took. The actual photo documentation is left, but I think these are decent imagery for giving you an idea of how how we have used these numbers, and we have like a contourish vinyl that we have used, the flooring material, and seamless. Again, on the right side, you see seamless classrooms where there are just drop down projector screens which act as a barricade. These are the labs. Again, they did not want any lab instrument to be seen on the top, so we put everything up into the shelves. And so it's quite seamless, this whole lab. It looks quite like a office environment, because that was a brief that was given, not like an office, but like a studio environment where people are, things are really open and nice. The library with a digital library, you can always digitalize things and keep them, and a reading cell where you can just read up in the outside. Again, a typology, a prototype, that we had designed as a computer lab, in which there are 2 students sitting, and each of them get like a little bit of working space in a computer, on a computer. And there were 2-3 combinations that we did. Here again, they are sitting like looking at each other as such, but the teaching space is downwards. So finally, we decided to do this one, which is the rendered image to your left, where again we had designed that furniture. What you will see that is that the built form, that is the RCC shell, is quite linear. That's because the language of this building, we had designed this building. The previous project, the building was already existing. We were doing just the internal shell. Now this building we had designed, and it is still it's a very huge complex as such. It's in Hazaribagh, and what you see over here is that with minimal paint, just what you see on the left is just a painted wall. It is not even 3D, but it creates a sense of illusion. And in the space that you're learning, that has been designed. So the furniture has been designed. So yeah. Next is the library, which we designed in AHS. What we did was, as you see in the section, the right side, where the steps have been made, there was a slab, and which we broke, so that we can have a 2-floored library. And so the steps itself became the sitting area, and you can sit on it, you can study, you can pick up a book from this big shelf on the left, which is a 2-floor height shelf. Pick up a book and sit in this small little space over here, which you can you can sit over here, you can sit on the chairs, you can sit back in this informal seating. And the whole experience of sitting over here, it just very, very old, even if it's not very old looking, it's very, very contemporary, but it has its values coming from really old libraries, in which you had like really tall libraries, and you had to take a ladder and go up and fetch the books, which are really which still exist, and they have their own character. I really respect and appreciate that one. But this is a different way of looking um, at the design, but yet giving that kind of a look. This I'll just had a video over here. Okay, let's skip the video. What uh, what you see to the right is that we have made this whole tree in 3D, and right now it currently looks um, flat on the wall, but actually it is a CNC cut tree, and made out of a lot of panels and stuff on the wall, and it gives that little bit of thickness, right? Just about 6 to 12 thickness to the wall. And to the left is the actual image of it. Uh, and this is the seating area which we just saw. Yeah. So these are the drawings which you did for, for CNC cutting, and cutting those leaves out of those those panels. Some graphic work that we did. This almost 3 meters. That is almost more than 10 feet height, long graphic work which we did, and we pasted on these laminated surfaces of partitions. Um, what you see here is a reading library, uh, where storytelling. Yeah, so the teacher just called it storytelling room. I just want one room in which I want to concentrate on storytelling. So essentially, we went about creating like a big book on the left, and these kids are going to sit and they're going to listen to storytelling or teacher. And there's another form of tree, again, um, they are essentially partitions, and they itself form the partition. They act as big books. What you're seeing here is quite indoor, but you can always scale it up and push it out in the campus, anywhere in the campus. Use it as a big book, as an architectural form. I'm showing you all this is so that you can scale it up to how much ever level that you want. Here, another very tiny, kids environment in which you enter, and you have like a play area on the left. You enter into that small gate over here in between, and then you go into the left, where you can again play a lot. And you have this sand area, you have bridges, you have tents, you have you have grass, actual grass going outside, you have artificial grass, so that these children are going to understand the act between an artificial grass and an actual. So all we are here to give them an exposure to what's real, and to what's which is like there. It's an alternative. It's unreal, but it's alternative. And then you come into this, again, teaching area, which is kind of formal. Like I told you, this community area in which they have their preparation table, and then they have their washing area, and they have to sit on a chair and things like that, not on the ground. This is how it looks. You see how small the height of the door has to be, and it cannot be like a huge door in which the child enters. He has to feel that the space has been designed to his height, and not for an adult. And even the school teacher has to sit at the height of the students itself. Right, we see a lot of tents and things happening. Um, we have outdoor, indoor areas. Introduce one small little dog house over here and a parrot cage, and like a trampoline, and where birds like sparrows can come in and drink some small little bit of water and have some food and go. So small little things like this, they matter a lot. Try to involve all these things in your design. I think it will help a lot. What you see here is completely made out of wood, pine wood, and we were planning to keep it completely open, but for practical reasons and rodents and this that, we have to have some kind of barricade. I mean, these are just bars, pine wood sections, very thin ones, so that there is visual connection to the outside, but at the same time there is a little bit of safety, and a couple of creepers can grow into it, and etc. So you can have your own interpretation of the space, looking at these inspirations. So these are the heights at which we were just looking at. The height of a child, say around 1.5 feet, say 450 has to sit at a height of like 8 inches height and 7 inches height or so. Sorry. So once the child is left, and then he's sitting on all these shelves and playing community table, and then this little girl is sitting on about a chair of a height of 1.5 feet only, that is around 330 and her sitting height is even lesser. It is around 8 inches, very tiny. Please be careful when you design those small little things to their height. That's why I've especially kept these. These are the standard heights, heights at which you can have age group wise, age 4, 5, up to age 14. So what you see here is the table height and and a chair height. Now these chairs can be of any shape and size that you want to design. It can be an elephant, rabbit, or rainbow. Like I think you can go like crazy. This is another school which we did, in which we had to first generate a space in which the parent is going to come with the student, take admissions, and that's going to be the first look of that school, right? So she's going to leave the kid to play. She's going to talk with the teacher, and she's going to understand what the school has to offer. So these are the spaces that we created, like a house in which you have a small cubicle. Instead of a cubicle, we created this. So it has a feel of a cubicle. It's nice and cozy inside, where even a school teacher and the parent, they can understand what this kind of school, what's the kind of environment the school is going to provide. Where you see there was another option that we did with like a big cylindrical form, and even this was light. So we went with the house form because the client liked it. What you see again outside towards the left are trees. They are CNC cut. They are CNC cut in metal, and they have glass also. So it's like a double, like a double sandwich kind of a thing that we did. Those are details which you can, try to put it in your later projects. As of now, you can just think of a nice form. Here also, you can see that there are shells which have been designed in the form of clouds. There are spaces in which you can go and sit. There's a subtle color which has been used. So all these things, when you add to your design, I think it's going to be very, very interesting. There are some objectification that you can, objectification, yeah, like like objects which become design elements. This one is a pencil one. This one I had kept specially to show you those trays that many school teachers use. These trays which you see over here have got a lot of toys and material, learning material inside it. So that's why I want to show you how, inside a form, you can introduce a bought out form also. Because those are bought out, like those are available in the market and you have to fit it. So you have to design a form according to that, bought out item. How about having corridors like this, in which you have spaces in which of frames and were you with me till here?
This is good. Can you go a little forward after the computer lab subset? 72, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, this is, yeah, I think.
After this one, you lost me here.
Yes, this is the previous.
Okay. Shall I start?
Yeah, you can carry.
So, yeah.
Yes, Shruti, you can carry.
Yeah. So essentially, this was one school which we designed as like a showcase for the school. The child is going to come along with the parent, and he. What happens is the parent has to know what are the offerings of the you can see again clouds as shells and mountains as shells, and various forms over here again the mountains as shells. But what we need to understand is the subtle color scheme that we need to that they can identify these colors when from one classroom to the other. There's one more classroom which we did, in which the pencils were color pencils. They were a form of other which are actually items which you see at the end of this wall between the which we created, so that there are some elements which are actually bought out and you have to design the space as per the bought item. So that's the reason why I've particularly kept this but there is which in which you have like this house kind of an urban setup, which probably will take you back to like Copenhagen or something like that, and which you can see like a skyline which happens not urban, mostly like as I said Copenhagen or some city skyline in which this walk through his be displayed on these which have been remarked in front of you, and there's one green element which is present everywhere. You see it. And it also brings out some edges, and it's nice. We had from all corners very cat and pastel color scheme with petal like flower of an you are inspired when I'm washing and I'm looking at something related. Just things like this and Yeah, so sorry about the connection. I think I was expecting this, but forgive me for that. Um, so what you see over here are very pastel kind of colors in which you can it's very soothing to the eyes. All the edges are rounded off, and there's a cute little element of the uh, cute little elements, right? Like the cat and a petal and things like that. So what I would like to you know say is that you have to create these environments which look something like this. You can make a choice. It's your design choice that you need to design it with an intent that my space is going to look like this. It's going to look clean. It's not going to have too much details, or it will have a lot of details. It will be more inward looking. It will have a ample amount of light. It will uh, it will have a curvy linear arrangement, or will it have like a linear arrangement with pointy edges, or probably a shell, uh, or however. You have to make that design decision. What you're looking at are some images which I would like to inspire you with, to break the walls, to make perforations in the wall. Do you want to make perforation in the wall which is 3D in nature? Do you want to make it in circle? Do you want to make it in like a cylindrical shape, or like a capsule, or square, circle, hexagon, whatever? You want to make a mushroom, you want to make a tree, whatever you want to make, you can go crazy and still inspire. There are these small shelves which you can place wherever you want. You can scale this up, and the building can become a tree. However you want to do, you can make a great mound with a lot of spaces, writable spaces like this, maybe some backlit elements like what you see at the right. And it's much more futuristic, where the iPad becomes really huge. It becomes so huge, it becomes to the scale of the child itself, and then he's out there trying to learn shapes, not just with the hand, but also with the help of technology. Um, and hence they both have to be side by side. Like one thing can't be like another area, and another thing can't be at another area. So this is where it becomes easier for the teacher also to make them understand how their skills are getting polished and things like that. Like, for example, a house, it can become a partition with a perforation, or it can become a 3D house itself, which you see on the left top, or it can become a door. It can have different, several different permutations can happen with that form. And I think you should explore into all these forms. Um, uh, and how are you going to introduce colors? How these are different ways of introducing colors. You can let light pass through it. You can let um, colors be there on the ground, on the flooring pattern. It can be a completely white space. There can be a lot of natural light. uh, I mean, these are just examples. There can be, the whole space can be monolithic, that the ceiling and the wall and the floor, all the three become of the same color. Do you want so much color? Do you not want so much color? These are the design decisions that you have to take for the kids, right? And what's going to be the psychological effect on the child? So why not make him sit in like a much subtler colored room, or like a multicolored room, or something like this, where light pours in, and like the experience. This is an experience. So how are you going to create this experience? And every time this shadow is going to keep moving, it's going to be beautiful. Like, are you going to go into forms which are becoming the physical teaching environments like we see in these images? are you going to make small little caves in which they can go inside and yet have like a parametric element in the ceiling, which is inspiring. And as a designer, you would like to showcase, that is also one way of looking at it. How are you going to make sure that, small things like maintenance and public spaces like this are taken care of, like basins, and how are you going to take care of those things? How are you going to make door inside a door, like those doors are not just for like small little like a cat door. No, you don't have to treat it like that. You can have it like a small little child door also. And then there is the height at which the reception is created. The reception is created for the kid also, and for the tutor also, for the parent also. So how are you going to design those? How are you going to introduce those trees which we have been seeing all through the presentation in different shapes and sizes? And how are the corridors going to be? How are you going to introduce slides inside the environment, or some amazing climbing activity with nets? Like that is another design element which I myself haven't used, which I really want to use, sometime really soon. And then how are you going to create like a complete setup, an urban setup inside the school itself? Like there's a road, there's a car, there's going to be a bus, and then it's going to halt at some classroom, so something of that sort that you see on the left. So those are the things that I would ask you as designers, and ask you to implement in your designs. I will quickly brush up through the other projects that we did as Aris Architects. These are the clients that we worked with: KGT, Credo, DPS, and ELPRO International School, Global GIS Group. So it was a great, all that I have spoken are the briefs that these schools have given us. And and they have certain ideologies that we have to follow. So and that's the reason why we reason out our designs, and then they approve it, and then we execute it. And apart from schools, I myself also do multiplexes and offices, residential and commercial and retail. These are the school architecture that we have done. Our design language has been very, like I started the presentation, it has been very, very authoritative. It has been very, very to the scale, to inspire, and it is something to be proud of. So our design language has always been like that. We have made sure that we take care of a lot of site orientation, passive, sustainable design elements are introduced. And when we design our facades, we make sure that it's very playful, like you see in this particular project, where we're trying to create a lot of boxes which become fenestrations and become facade facade features. This is how it looks. This is in Gurgaon, and so this is the kind of design language that we follow. Some materials, how we use the material palette, how we do the campus development, how phase wise the building is made. Like maybe one primary school is made, and then the secondary, and then maybe the higher studies. So every project, it takes time, and it takes a lot of efforts, and it's a long journey. And so we have gone through all this, I myself and Aris, and these are the kind of projects that we are doing. Ample amount of mounds and beautiful landscaping, open environment, a lot of assembly areas, a lot of color, and yet there is a lot of natural light, maintaining the natural light, informal areas, sitting areas, again, some areas which give you the sense of scale, a lot of flooring patterns, and yeah, this is the Panvel DPS school that we did. Again, when you see the students run on this, the green grass, it's like, I mean, and the noise that they make, wow. And then it's all so much fun, like when they just come to school and just learn in these spaces that we have designed. I mean, it's really like, I feel really humble about it. And of course, things like courts and football grounds and a lot of play areas. These are massive projects. Also, there are some other projects that I would like to show you, uh, as the design language is kind of different, because see what you see in this one, it's in Beijing, and what you see is at the scale of that DPS school which we just saw. Like, but the design language is very, very different. Where there are mounds, there are a lot of playful, there are these tunnels which have been made, mounds have been made, and cutouts have been made in the mound itself. So, and that mound can be in RCC. What we see here, what we see also, and it has been done in RCC. So, how crazy can a simple form go, and it can become real, and it should be very open-minded in terms of what you're offering and what the person is receiving. It has to be very, very open-minded. Again, here you see a lot of linear forms, again, the way our design languages. So you as a designer have to decide whether your design language is going to be uh, it's going to be like linear, or is it going to be very curvy? Is it going to be like this, in which every is your design project going to look like this, in which it's a big flowy space where and central, there are going to be kids having an assembly. How is it going to look? uh, and all these images and the other links. I'm going to show you one more this thing video, which I would like to end it with. And before that, it's I'm thanking all of you to hear me out. I'm just going to put that video. Hmm. Uh, yeah, so essentially you saw that in this particular video, there's a lot of noise. So what the only thing that I couldn't explain in the entire presentation was the realness of the environment that we have created all these years in our school projects. That once these kids fill up the environment, it's going to be really it's a different environment by itself. Like you design it in one way and the kid will he will take it to another level. So that's some magic which is going to happen once the project goes live. I mean, that is something that gives me immense pleasure when once the project is complete. So I think as a design student, I think you should get inspired with all these different kind of forms and things around you, which will help create some really beautiful spaces for the kids, which are probably 20 years younger to you. I would like to thank Sandeep, Priyanka ma'am, and the entire MSA team for giving me an opportunity to share all these small little uh, small little experiences of a longer time with everybody. And I hope we do this again sometime soon. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shruti. Thanks a lot. I hope. I mean, basically, it kind of sums up to a beautiful stage where we are in right now. We actually been working on this project almost 1 month right now. We're still in understanding the project only, in the process of understanding the project itself. And basically, the ideas are going to come up in the next 1 month. That is the idea. So I think this will give a good stop from our side and let their thoughts come up. So this is a fantastic ending from our side, and let's hope students do come up with some crazy ideas and get inspired from what you have shown and what's there out there. And I think they'll benefit a lot from this presentation. I believe, we all believe. So any students, I understand there is no doubt session as such here, but if you want to express yourself in terms of anything that you liked about the projects or any questions or any queries regarding that, or if you would like to share your thoughts of, maybe you might have, it's not necessary that you might have enjoyed every single design, you might have your own opinions of how this is going to work, this is not going to work, that be frank about it. Maybe we can have a small, if Shruti, if you have some more time to spend with our students, is it okay?
I'm open. Yeah.
So like if anybody has some thoughts on the presentation that we saw, projects that we saw, anything, if you like something, why don't you share about what you love about this projects that you've seen? Or if you not exact dislike, but if you kind of had a different opinion on something like that, we would like to hear about that, Anybody would like to make out an open statement, even faculty could join. It'll be nice to have a small conversation before we end this, kind of learning together with our thoughts. Anybody would like to start? It's okay, we'll wait. You can put your thoughts in order.
Yes, hi Shruti, this is Vivek. I'm a faculty here, teaching with Sandeep and Priyanka. And, we have a team of 5, good. And, we always give examples to our, students, but, it was good to see real hand experience of designing, when you are working for real, on a real project. So, especially these innovations that you are doing with respect to the form of furniture, how they can be rearranged and reused in different combinations. This was something eye-opening. I particularly never thought about this. And, so I just wanted to know, was it like a part of the brief the client gives, or, was it like, this thing you wanted to do from your own side, or, from the office side that you explored so much, I could see it was in 2-3 combinations, 2-3 projects, I think it was spread across.
No, see, it wasn't a design brief. It was mostly, what we are told by the principal or the the starter of that particular institution, we are told that our design, our teaching ideology is together. We teach in group teaching. So what are the forms that are required? So I went into the thinking that what are the forms that can become a group teaching form, and also provide a lot of flexibility and innovation in terms of arrangement every day. Mostly it gets so boring to look at the same furniture, the same arrangement kept the same way, looking at the same board all the time. So why not create more kind of forms and designs which can be explored. So that's the reason why we did that. And as you must have seen, that project especially went on for a very long time, and it is still going on. So every time we do one floor. So the thing is that there are some focal points here and there. So that particular project had a focal point of only furniture design. Then some other project had a focal point of maybe the paneling work or the shelves that we designed. So in that particular project, it was that focal point.
Interesting. That was nice to hear. Okay, do we have any questions from the students?
Just sharing my thoughts, adding to what Vivek said. It is very interesting how you came up with designing, from scratch. Like every little detail has been given importance, and that's something we try to, make the students understand. I hope that after this, they get a better understanding of what we are trying to tell them. Your field experience definitely adds a lot of weight. Thank you.
Shruti, I have a professional question here. Like, for example, all the projects that we have seen right now, they are wonderful projects, no doubt about that. And for example, if I was a student, as an academician, if I have to search for a case study for this project, and if I go to these websites or magazines that I keep visiting, I usually find this. I hope I'm clear, right, in my voice?
Yes.
End of the day, I just start finding these international projects, right? Not much of Indian context, but very, very, very less, comparably. I mean, all are good designs, no doubt, but entire world, entire global level, everything is good, but very less amount of Indian projects, especially, for example, even a kindergarten design that we saw so many good projects, so many beautiful projects. Why there is a less of thing in social networking or social media? How does it work, or what makes it not being in that platform?
No, I think there are, even I was looking at a couple of design projects. There were a couple of Sandeep Khosla, and I don't know, I don't want to name anybody as such, but there were a couple of projects, but I did not feel like selecting them this particular presentation, because they were very, very shell-based projects. So they spoke a lot about, say, the materials that they have used, or the jali that they have made, and then how they have made the terracotta, jalis, and the RCC elements going with hand in hand. There was very, very architectural kind of projects, and good projects, great projects. But the thing is that was not correct for today's design brief. The design inspiration that I want to give, because see, if we ask these first year students to just start doing RCC and jalis and things like that, then I don't think they will go crazy with the form, and they will not draw much smoother, free mind sketches. So I was here, I was mostly trying to give them a free flow ideas, not just free flowing forms, but also free flowing in terms of ideas, like many ideas. I don't know. There is quite some matter though that Indian architects have done. We are still trying to publish our. That's because we have to still do some. So I'm sure we will be. I'm sure there's quite a matter available. I think education is also global, no? So why to have references? Education is global, design is global. Why to restrict yourself with Indian go global? About vernacular spaces, which is like laterite and vernacular materials, but then I don't know, how will you go crazy with form? That is the question. You can take it as an exercise. These kids, they can take it up as an exercise and in another free flowing fashion, edges, and it just tilted, and then the whole building was like. So I think it's a free mind with it. But I believe we should do global inspections.
Sure. Actually, that's an interesting thought. Education is global, and why not stick to? Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't want to know your opinion. And it came out really beautiful, and I think that makes so much of sense right now. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Students, if you guys would like to share, you can please comment. If you would like to add anything, you can unmute yourself. I believe if you want to unmute yourself, I'll just give you 1 minute. I'll just make sure everybody can.
Sandeep, Yashika is just trying to communicate. 1 second, just wait for her.
You can unmute yourself, students, if you would like to, whenever you want to add.
I also believe this thing which Sandeep sir have said, that there's very less of documentation in terms of Indian architecture. So there's a huge scope for architectural journalism in that way. And coming towards what we have learned today with Shruti, I feel this was very much bold and experimental kind of designs which they are coming up with. And sometimes when we are designing this way, it becomes a challenge to make your client understand what you are thinking. And 3D modeling, and it helps a lot to make them understand what it will look in future. So so what do you feel, ma'am? Is it like a challenge to make people understand your this concept?
Okay, it is challenging, but I think it's going to be very revolutionary, and that is what I think every school needs to showcase. I think it is their showcasing point. Also, design of the school itself is a point of showcasing for the institution who has come to you. So they are going to agree to your designs, and if you yourself have faith in your design, and you make understand, with making one not a complete walkthrough. If I have one more walkthrough that I can show you guys, but like I'll restrict myself to time. So not just like no, I'm not asking you to do a complete walk. And if you show them one render in which there's an amount of light coming in and the form is explained in it, there's a scale of human toddler, feature, furniture explained in it. So the person on the opposite side is going to understand what you're trying to say. And of course, when it comes to buildability, that's the chapter itself. So once model is complete in all aspects, and you have to take sections, you have to make cutting out plans and try to achieve those right on site at a certain height. Those things, of course, that's a complete team effort which goes on, and that's builder, the contractor who has got this particular project in mind to do a great job. And you, as a supervisor, has to make sure that the design that was there in your head, in your render, and on site are the same. So that is the responsibility of a designer as an architect to take through that entire process. So you can start with a clear design to show that I can make things, and then go crazy. Crazy as in like you can go bold and go in terms of 3D elements or 3D forms, and then eventually on site. But I think at the time you're going to achieve it.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So I think we got some comments for you, Shruti. I think you can go read them. You can read it, I think, in comment box from some of the students. And anyways, thank you very much again, Shruti, from MSc. And batch 2020 also would like to share a thanks to you for spending some time with us. And I think we will definitely would like to get back to you with our students' ideas, and we would like to know your opinions on their ideas as semester ends. Hope it will be of help for us in future, and we'll try to definitely collaborate more in various other ventures that we have. Thank you very much, very much for your time, and it was really beautiful.
Thank you too.
So thank you, students. I think we will end the meeting, and take care, guys. I hope you jot down some important points, ideas that you just got for the presentation, so that you don't forget, quickly, later on. Quick sketches, quick jotting down points might keep it better in your design books that you've already been maintaining. So all the best, guys. Thank you very much. Let's catch up soon later. Yeah, next class. Okay then.
Okay, bye. Best of luck.